काञ्चना स्मृते यस्मिन् दुष्करं सुकरं भवेत् विस्मृते विपरीतं स्यात् श्री चैतन्य नमामि तम्। Hare Krishna. Welcome to our weekly Srimad Bhagavatam class. And by Radha Gopinath's mercy, we've been able to have consistently for some weeks now. And I pray that we can do these classes every week. Also, I want to thank so many devotees who have come online, and thank you for keeping yourself muted, because if your mic is on, then we all it's disturbing. Thank you for keeping the mics off. Thank you all of you for coming again. And also, before we begin today, I want to express my deep gratitude to each and every one of you, because of this Tuesday class, I get an opportunity to study Srimad Bhagavatam very deeply with Acharya's purports and Prabhupada's purports. So if you hadn't given me this opportunity, then maybe I wouldn't have studied so much. So I really feel grateful today. And if I can please you or serve you in some way, please do let me know. And I'll be more than happy to serve you and please you, because you have given me a wonderful gift of the opportunity to study and prepare my consciousness for Srimad Bhagavatam. And then when I study and then share with all of you, I feel my consciousness surcharged with purity and a desire to serve. So this is a gift, Vaishnava Seva. So I'm very grateful to you. Thank you. I don't want to embarrass you more, so we will go into the class. It is a very beautiful chapter, the 9th chapter, which we are reading. Because Bhishma, the great stalwart devotee of Krishna, the most misunderstood character in the Mahabharata, his heartfelt prayers are going to be pouring out. But before that, we see the first 11 verses of this chapter, how Bhishma welcomes everyone who has come to see him, who have assembled at his deathbed. And he welcomes them according to time, place, and circumstances. He is very intelligent and he is very sober, and his mind is perfectly having clarity, although his body is pierced with so many arrows. So the first 4 verses we saw how Pandavas, Krishna, and all the sages have come to meet him. And especially after that we saw from verse number 5 to 8, great sages from all over the universe have come to see him. And then 9, 10, and 11 we saw Bhishma welcomes each and every one of them with sweet words and affectionately speaks to the Pandavas. And we began last time the section of 12 to 17, which is a very important section where Bhishma pacifies and encourages Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas. Without being told anything, Bhishma has understood that the Pandavas are feeling extremely sad, especially Yudhishthira Maharaj is feeling responsible for the massacre of crores of soldiers. So he pacifies them, and there are 3 themes in this section of 6 verses, 12 to 17. And the 3 themes are, the first 2 verses is where Bhishma sympathizes with the situation of the Pandavas. And then 14 and 15 is where he explains the influence of irreversible time. And finally, the last 2 verses in this section is where Bhishma convinces Yudhishthira Maharaj that we should accept the Lord's inconceivable plan and accept the Lord's plan and follow it. So we discussed the 12th verse, and we discussed the major part of the 12th verse. There's one last part also remaining. So what we will do today, we will chant all the verses 12 to 17 and the translation, because this is one section. Then we'll go back to 12, complete the theme, and then go to the next verse. Is that okay? Who will read the translations today? Last time who read? Today one of you has to read. Would you like to read? Shubham? You don't have translation? Okay, Madan, would you like to? Okay, you can do. But what will you do then? You share? Okay. You can come in the front so that. Okay, so we'll start. Please chant verse number 12. Aho kashtam aho nyayam yadyoyam dharmanandana jivitum narata klishtam vipradharma chitashraya. Translation. Maharaj Yudhishthira was disturbed due to the great massacre in the battle of Kurukshetra. Wait. 12 verse. Bhishma Devi said, "Oh, what terrible suffering and what terrible injustice you good souls suffer
for being the son of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion.
Yes, so this is what we discussed last time, where Bhishma is speaking about uh, Aho Kashtam. He's saying how you suffered so much. He's not saying I have suffered. Aho Anyayam, injustice. And then we discussed about in detail about how pure devotee sees suffering. How we see suffering. The pure devotee always sees others are suffering. And we discussed in great detail examples of Srila Prabhupada also. How devotees go through suffering because they have compassion. They want others to be. The last part of this verse is, he's saying, Aho Kashtam Aho Nyayam Yadyuyam Dharmanandana. He says, you didn't deserve to be happy. Jivitum Narhata Krishna. You didn't deserve to be alive. Because you are alive because Vipra Dharma Achyuta Ashraya. Because you took shelter of devotees, four regulative principles, the Dharma principles, and then Achyuta Ashraya, shelter of Krishna. So this is the second theme of this verse. The first theme we discussed last time. So he's saying you are all protected because you did these three things. What are the three things? First one, shelter of devotees, Brahmanas. Second, following religious principles. Third, shelter of Krishna. See, generally, when we go through calamity, we don't follow the religious principles strictly. When we are distressed, many of us compromise. And then we suffer more. We become slack because we are not enthusiastic because we are suffering. And then we also don't take guidance of other devotees. And then we suffer more. And because of these two, and also because we are suffering, we forget Krishna in our difficulties. So extremely challenging situations when we go through, we need to ask, how much am I following the principles of Dharma, how much am I taking guidance of devotees, and how much am I remembering Krishna? Because these are the three things that will protect us. If you see some of the devotees have gone through great calamity, like Vidura. If you see in the Mahabharata, even the Bhagavatam describes, Vidura was criticized a lot by Duryodhana. In fact, there is a conversation in the Mahabharata between Duryodhana and Shakuni. And Duryodhana is saying, whom should I not trust in my assembly? So Shakuni says, don't worry about Bhishma. He thinks Bhishma is very powerful. But Shakuni says, no, Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya. Shakuni systematically explains how they can be manipulated. They are not difficult for us. The most dangerous, he says, is Vidura. Because Vidura always speaks the truth and he doesn't care. So Duryodhana insults Vidura the most, saying that he's Dasi Putra, get out of the kingdom. So then the Bhagavatam describes the words of Duryodhana pierced his heart like the arrows because he had served faithfully. He was ill-treated. He left his bow and he left the kingdom. But there is this verse which I don't recall now, which ends with how he was miserable and was also happy. Third canto, there is a verse. He knew that he's feeling a lot of pain, but is also happy because he always took shelter of devotees, followed principles, and remembered Krishna. So he took this as an opportunity to increase his devotional service and improve his quality of devotional service. So then he went to all the holy places, met devotees, did more kirtan. So he took shelter of Krishna more. So the point is that those who are following these principles, when calamity comes, they flourish. And those who don't follow these three principles, they suffer more when the calamity comes. This is what Bhishma is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj. Vipra Dharma Achyutashraya. So because Krishna, if we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna will accept. So we have to remember Krishna always. See, the Bhaumasura pastime, he had kidnapped 16,000 queens. And then when Krishna rescued them, and he told them that they are free to go, they did not move, saying that we have been touched by Bhaumasura, so we can't, nobody will accept us. So Srila Prabhupada says that these women were rejected, but Krishna accepted because they had devotion and they came to Krishna. So anyone with any qualification, disqualification will be accepted by Krishna. It's just that we have to remember Krishna. Whether it is Vidura, Shabari, anyone who has remembered Krishna and has been patient has been rewarded. So anytime you are confused because of the suffering you are going through, just ask this question. Are you following these three? Are you taking guidance of devotees? Are we are we following the Dharma principles, and are we remembering Krishna? Then when you connect to these three principles, you will see the determination comes back. And therefore, Bhishma is saying, you are protected. See, on a deeper level, if you see Yudhishthir Maharaj, Bhishma, although they are crying, they are lamenting, they are feeling guilty. Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling guilty. But if you see on a deeper level, actually that is ecstasy. That is actually great joy Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling. Because we always remember Krishna. See, we may think, oh, he's suffering, he's going through pain. But we don't understand what happiness is there. So that is blissful. He is blissful only. So the practical application for us from this verse is the first of the 6 verses which we covered last time, and today we are briefly completing it. Is that live for others. And then, even if you are suffering because of that, then follow these 3 principles and you will be happy. Simple. The main message from verse number 12 is we should live our life for the welfare of others. And when suffering comes, because it will come, we need to know that we have to make our life centered on 3 things. First, guidance of devotees, following Dharma principles, and remembering Krishna. In fact, Srila Prabhupada said those who do this, they are always happy. And Prabhupada, there is one lecture, Prabhupada says, Krishna conscious devotees are never morose. And then Prabhupada said, if somebody is morose, that means he is in Maya. In one morning walk, when Srila Prabhupada said this, devotee never suffers. So one devotee got confused and he said, Prabhupada, but we see devotees are suffering. And Prabhupada said, that means he's not a devotee. He was saying that if you are remembering Krishna, you will not suffer. That is the point.
Is this same as Guru Shadusha?
Yes, something like that. Yes. See, you can map everything. I didn't do that. Yeah. So, but we say we suffer. We are actually suffering. But if you see, that is because we are not remembering Krishna. We are forgetting Krishna. And also, you don't have to beat yourself. It's okay. See, we are work in progress. We are not Vishnu. We are not pure devotees. And we are not materialistic people. We have a sincere intention. So please celebrate the fact that you are sincere. You are practicing. You are not perfect. So you are suffering. So, and when we say devotee doesn't suffer, and you say, but I am suffering. So don't have to think, I'm not devotee. No, you are devotee only. But you are suffering means accept. Have the humility to accept that I'm getting this as my reaction for what I have done in my past. And Krishna has a plan. So this humility and acceptance makes one peaceful when we suffer. Therefore, awareness of our condition, accepting, that is what we need. So we need to have the humility to accept Krishna's will, especially when we go through suffering. And advanced devotee is senior, is not senior. Advanced devotee, I've seen, sometimes very young devotees, they're not striving for position, they're genuinely humble, and they're able to have a lot of grace during suffering. So that is actually wonderful. That means they're actually taking shelter of these 3 things. Senior is not somebody who's seen many years. Senior is one who has seen 2 years. Just wordplay. So I've seen sometimes devotees are very young, but they're very gracious. They're suffering, but thank you, Krishna. It's very, very amazing. That's why humility, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj very beautifully says, humility is not to think of oneself as less, but to think less of oneself. I'll repeat, humility is not to think of oneself as less, but to think less of oneself. First sentence means not to think of oneself as less, means thinking I'm bad, I'm miserable. That is not humility. Humility is to think less of oneself, means apne bare mein itna mat socho. Don't keep thinking, oh, my problem, I'm sorry. The whole idea is we want to think of how to serve others. That is humility. And because material world life is tough, we will suffer. And when we go through that, we take shelter of devotees. So, and we have to basically do a few things. These 3 also, this is a triangle. Guidance of devotees, following Dharma, remembering Krishna. And the middle of the triangle is the principle, don't offend anyone. Don't offend others. Just be simple. Because offense also takes that taste away. Hmm. So we should be happy, make others happy. Because one of the offenses in Garuda Puran is the worst offense is killing a devotee. And it goes, there are different offenses. And it's also an offense not to feel happy on seeing other devotees. That is also an offense. So the point is we have to learn to live for others. That is the whole idea. So of course we can't just be happy seeing everyone. We may not be so advanced. But the point is the more we worry about others, the more we think about others' welfare and think less about ourselves, we will be happy. That is the whole idea. And follow the principles of this creed, what Bhishma is saying. And then we are happy. You will see that when you are interacting with others, they also are happy. They come to Krishna consciousness. Nobody in the world wants to join a movement where the members are miserable. People want to come to see if you are happy. And you will be happy if you live for others. Once we were in Harinam Sankirtan and devotees are chanting, dancing. So one Christian lady she got very agitated. She started distributing pamphlets. This is before 2014. Every 2-3 months, I had to meet some fanatic, Muslim or Christian fanatic. Trying to preach in airports, stations, always. When I see saffron, they get more excited to preach. But after 2014 till now, I have not met anyone. I don't know the reason, but so I remember they were very agitated and aggressively they used to preach. So I remember once one Christian lady was shouting. So we devotees were doing kirtan here only, they were going out. So the lady was with some man in a bike, she got down and she looked at the devotees Monday morning, Harinam, and were laughing, happy chanting. She said, "You are all pretending to be happy, you are not really happy." Because people can't believe that you are actually happy. So chanting Hare Krishna actually makes us happy. So therefore, we need to live for others and make our life sublime. So this is the verse number 12 that we took last time. Now we will continue with verse number 13 onwards. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then we'll go back to 13 and zoom into it and discuss the purport in detail. So let us chant text number 13. Please repeat. Samstite tirate pando. Samstite tirate pando. Prata bala prajavadhu. Prata bala prajavadhu. Yusmakrite bahun kleshan. Yusmakrite bahun kleshan. Prapta tokavati moho. Prapta tokavati moho.
Listen, as far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions.
Text 14. Sarvam kala kritam manye. Sarvam kala kritam manye. Bhavatam cha yad apriyam. Bhavatam cha yad apriyam. Sapalo yad vashe loko. Sapalo yad vashe loko. Vayuriva ghanavadi. Vayuriva.
Translation. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind.
Text 15. Yatra dharma suto raja. Yatra dharma suto raja. Gada nirrukodara. Gada nirrukodara. Vishnu stri gandivam chapam. Vishnu stri gandivam chapam. Suhut Krishna stato vipa. Suhut Krishna stato vipa.
Translation. Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible otherwise. How can there be reversals in the presence of King Yudhishthir, the son of demigod controlling religion? Bhima, the great fighter with the clubs, the great bowman Arjun with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas.
Text 16. Nayasya kare chedrajan. Nayasya kare chedrajan. Kumar veda vidiksitam. Kumar veda vidiksitam. Yad vijigyasaya yukta. Yad vijigyasaya yukta. Niyanti kavayopihi. Niyanti kavayopihi.
Listen, O King, no one can know the plan of Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered.
Text 17, the last verse of this section. Tasmadidam devatantram Vyavas Vyavasya Bharatarshava Tasyam Vihito Natha Natapahi Prajaprabhu.
Who based among the descendants of Bharata, Yudhishthira, I maintain therefore that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my Lord, you should now take care of those subjects who are now rendered helpless.
Yes. If you see here what is happening in this entire section, we saw three things Bhishma is doing. He sympathized with the Pandavas in 12 and 13. Then he explained the influence of irreversible time. And he's also saying this is Krishna's plan. So forth. This is the way we are getting instructions on how to handle suffering in our life. And now we have covered verse number 12. So we go to 13th verse. And once again, I request you to chant the verse after me and then read the translation. Samstite tirate pando Prita bala prajavadhu Yusmat prite bham kleshan Prapta tokavati mohu.
Listen, as far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great general Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered grief. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your action.
And the purport you can read, it's a small purport but very powerful. Please listen to the purport very carefully. Or maybe we can do one thing. It's a good idea. I'm just thinking a lot. Maybe we can do like this. We will all read the purport together. So I will speak on the microphone. You read the purport with me so that you are also connecting to the sound. Okay? Purport. The sufferings of Kunti Devi are doubly lamented.
Therefore, greatly because of early widowhood and
She brought up in the royal family.
and when
She continued to suffer because of her son's actions. So her sufferings continued.
This means that she was destined to suffer the
And this one has to tolerate without being disturbed.
without
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So you are concentrating as you are reading. So what is the main theme which you see in this verse and purport? Suffering and tolerance. Bhishma is saying we are going through suffering, we have to tolerate. What is Kunti's biggest suffering? What do you think was the biggest suffering? She suffered, right? What? Husband's death, you think was the biggest suffering?
Injustice with you.
No, one. You say it was the biggest suffering. She suffered so much. The husband's death. What else was suffering? Biggest suffering, what do you think?
Because when she went to
It's your opinion. Any other opinion? What is the biggest suffering?
when she went to the family, her children were all continuously were tormented and we were to plans to poison and
Yeah, so the mistreatment of children was the biggest suffering. You are saying her husband's death was the biggest suffering. Anybody else has any other answer? According to me, the biggest suffering was Krishna leaves this spiritual thing, that is ecstasy. We are not talking about that Krishna part. I'm talking about her life as a Kunti Devi. Okay. That is the greatest suffering. What else? Any other opinion? My opinion is a little different. I'm waiting if somebody also has the same answer. So you are saying it is because when her husband died, you are saying because of the children going through all this poison and all that being attempted to be killed, you are saying when she abandoned Karna. And,
when Pandavas suffered humiliation in Dhritarashtra's court when Draupadi
correct. That is also very big suffering for Kunti Devi. Any other thing you think Kunti Devi's biggest suffering was?
The more suffering was when finally they were exiled out of the
They are exiled. You have given yes. It's a good answer. Anybody else wants to say what is the biggest suffering? Draupadi, he said that. Draupadi is being insulted, exiled, anything else. What do you think is the biggest suffering for Kunti Devi? Okay.
Being Krishna's name.
Yeah, Krishna. Can't see she's suffering. Her biggest suffering I felt was when she's seeing Karna is fighting against Arjuna. Her two sons are trying to kill each other. What can be bigger? Already she's gone through so much suffering, and now she's seeing. So it's very, very intense life, you know.
I wanted to ask him why it's written that her children's action. Her children were always very obedient. So why her children's action?
It's a बोलते हैं यार इनके जैसे भी बहुत सफरिंग हुआ मतलब इनके जो प्रॉब्लम्स हुए इनके जो it's not that they are responsible for her suffering. That is not the most.
Was gambling a reason?
See,
Gambling was one of the action of Yudhishthira.
yes.
And I'm trying to connect.
See, he's saying in the mood that he's now focusing on Kunti Devi. He's already saying you people have suffered so much. He's already saying Pandavas have suffered so much. And then he's saying Kunti Devi suffered so much. And because of you she suffered means आप लोगों का लाइफ में सफरिंग है और आपके एक्शन से वो भी सफर कर रही है. It's not that you are causing her suffering. That's not the mood. आप ना don't go with see when you read the Bhagavatam and Gita, Bhakti way of reading scriptures is not seeing the letter of the scripture. It is to see the bhava, the emotions. So Bhishma is not saying you can't analyze it. Oh, Bhishma said Pandavas are responsible for this suffering. He is like in that mood. अरे यार कितना सफर कर रही मेरी daughter-in-law. He is feeling now affection for Kunti. So when he is feeling affection for Kunti, he is saying अरे तुम्हारे जैसे उसने कितना सफर किया. That doesn't mean they are bad. It is just that Kunti ने कितना सफर किया उसके ऊपर focus. Like you know, in one bhajan, Narottam Das Thakur says, Gangara parasha hoibe paschata pavan darshana pavitra karo ye tomar gun. You are more glorious, O Vaishnava, than Ganga. Ganga, one has to take baths to become purified, but simply seeing you, one becomes purified. You are greater than Ganga. But does that mean a Vaishnava is greater than Mother Ganga? No. अभी वो उधर वैष्णव के ऊपर फोकस है. We can't use it as a technical, logical analysis that okay, so Ganga Devi is not so not necessary. Okay, Vaishnava ko dekh liya. Like that, you know, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita Mahaprabhu is saying to that that Muslim fellow when they were traveling, that toll collector, so he's upset. So then he sees Mahaprabhu's ecstasy. So Mahaprabhu says, actually, I get epilepsy. Mahaprabhu downplays the whole thing. He doesn't want to show that he's God. Because he starts worshipping Mahaprabhu as God. Mahaprabhu says, no, I am sentimental, I got epileptic attack. So that you try to understand the humor there, the rasa there of humility. And there are some scholars who say that Chaitanya saint who came in 15th century, he is not God. He was an ordinary man who has saintly qualities and he also had epileptic attacks. Proof, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela Drisha. So they take the verse. So they are, technically they will take. But that is not how we read scripture. That's why we need Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, Vaishnava. So now you can't take that. Oh, the Pandavas have caused suffering to Kunti. That's not the humor there is, the rasa there is, अरे कुंती ने कितना सफरिंग किया यार, वो पांडव ने गैम्बलिंग किया उसकी वजह से कितना प्रॉब्लम हुआ, फिर द्रौपदी के साथ ये all that happened because of Pandavas, no? In the sense Pandavas are suffering, द्रौपदी का डिसरोबिंग हुआ, ये हुआ, फिर भीमा को पॉइजन खिलाया गया. Yes. Yes. That's why we need to study scriptures in the association of devotees so that we know which one to take literally and which one to take in proper humor. So the point here is tolerance is the key. Many times what happens when we go through suffering, devotees go through extremes. Oh, I'm suffering because it's my karma, and I'm horrible, I'm a bad person. And then what happens? They get into depression. That sometimes you go to other extreme. Oh, my suffering is all Krishna's arrangement. Krishna does everything. And then what we do is we don't want to take responsibility for what has happened in our life also. Ideally, and then and we keep analyzing also. मैंने क्या किया मेरे life में ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? So what better to do, because suffering, when we go through suffering, many devotees do this analysis. What did I do? मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Why me? What did I do? मैंने क्या किया? So Vaishnava mood is, we don't focus on the cause of our suffering. We focus on the purpose of our suffering. There's a difference between why I'm suffering. Cause Cause क्या होता है ना? Cause takes us past में. It makes us live in the past. मैंने क्या किया रहेगा? मेरे पास ऐसा हुआ. But purpose of suffering makes us live in the future. कि अभी आगे के लिए मुझे क्या करना है? ये purpose क्या है इसका? ये मुझे suffering मिला है ताकि I come closer to Krishna. So that is the mood in which we see suffering. Otherwise, if you try to analyze, now you will go crazy. Like for example, Parikshit Maharaj, he was cursed to death. What is the cause? Kind of analysis, no end. Okay, he suffered because Shringi was an impudent young boy who cursed him. He suffered because he was addicted to hunting and he got lost with his retinue, the kingly uh, team, and then he just went ahead and then he was alone. Or somebody may say he was suffering because he couldn't control his thirst and hunger. Another cause could be he suffered because Kali Yuga had started. So there is no end to how much you can analyze about the cause of why Parikshit Maharaj went through that cursing and being, killed by the serpent Takshata. But Parikshit Maharaj says, I'm suffering this in the 19th chapter of the first canto. It says, this is Krishna's arrangement. Krishna wants me, the purpose of this suffering is Krishna wants me to come closer to him. And this is what Bhishma is also going to tell the Pandavas now. So we focus on the purpose. See, we all have conditioning. We all have problems because of you're not coming closer to Krishna. So when we go through sufferings, our purification happens and we come closer to Krishna. And as we go through purification and as we go in this journey of coming closer to Krishna, one of the most important qualities we need is tolerance, which Prabhupada is writing here in the purport. This means you are destined to suffer by providence, and this one has to tolerate without being disturbed. One's greatness, Srila Prabhupada says this in Krishna book, famous sentence. One's greatness is estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. One's greatness can be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. Can you repeat this sentence after me? One's greatness can be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. And we are always tolerating. If you're working, you're tolerating your boss. I'm sure each one of you is tolerating your spouse. Life is tough. You're tolerating so many challenges in your workplace, in your home. And when you come to spiritual life also, you have to tolerate it. You can't think, यहाँ पे बस अभी कुछ tolerance नहीं, सब अच्छा होना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं होता. Krishna consciousness also there's a lot of tolerance. So we have to tolerate as we practice Krishna consciousness. And there are basically, this is called Saishnuta in Sanskrit. Mahaprabhu said, Trinadapi Sunitena Taroriva Saishnuna. So there are 4 kinds of tolerance given in the scriptures. Each one of us to develop and cultivate these 4 kinds of tolerance. One is called Vega Saishnuta. Vega means urges. So we have to learn to tolerate the Vegas. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapasta Vegam, Etan Vegan Vishayeta Diga, Sarvam Apimam Prithivim Shishya. So we have to learn to tolerate the Vega, the urges of speech. Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha, Jiva, the tongue, eating, Udara, stomach, Upastha, genitals. One who can control these 6 urges is qualified to have disciples also. So this is one tolerance we have to develop and practice in this lifetime. What is this called? Vega Saishnuta. Saishnuta means tolerance. Pranadapi Sunichena Taroriva Saishnuta. Saishnuta is tolerance. And what is the tolerance we are talking about here? Vega, urges. This is one of the tolerance. And second is the Dvandva Saishnuta. Dvandva means?
Indecision making.
Dvandva means duality. Duality means? What is the famous verse in the Gita which talks about duality? 2.14. Matra sparsha sukaunteya shitoshno sukha dukkhada agamapayuno nitya stam titikshasva bharata. We have to tolerate heat, cold, summer, winter,
Appreciation.
happiness, distress. These are all dvandva, duality. So this dvanda also we have to learn to tolerate. Because one day कभी क्या है? कभी खुशी कभी गम ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, कभी खुशी mostly गम. That is the way life is. So we have to learn to tolerate both happiness and generally Prabhupada writes it in the second chapter of Gita Prabhupada. One should tolerate happiness. I remember the first time when I read this verse in the Gita, Krishna said tolerate happiness and distress. I remember becoming very contemplative because I can understand why we should tolerate distress. But Krishna is saying tolerate happiness also. Because that is also based on material provocations and that we get excited, then when the misery comes, we'll have double pain. So that's how nature is. So this is Dvandva Sahishnata. Tolerate the duality. Third is Paramata Sahishnata. Paramata matlab दूसरों का opinion. We can't tolerate others' opinion generally. Paramata Sahishnata, tolerating others' opinion, because not everybody will agree with you. We look for people who will conform to what I believe. Can you sit in a group where others are different opinion and can you just tolerate that? That is also one kind of tolerance. And the fourth kind of tolerance is Para Utkarsha Sahishnata. Para Utkarsha means seeing others' success and others' progress. Now, ideally, you should celebrate that, but at least to begin with, we may have to tolerate that. Sometimes, this is very difficult to tolerate others' progress. Sometimes devotees come and they tell in the temple, अरे प्रभु जी आप उनको इतना फेवर करते हैं, उनको हमेशा सेवा के लिए बुलाते हैं, मीटिंग में उनको लेते हैं. Can you tell them, ठीक है प्रभु जी, वो बिकॉज वो सेवा करते हैं इसलिए, तो आप आ जाओ. नहीं मैं बहुत बिजी हूँ, मैं नहीं आ रहा, तो फिर चुप रहो. So this is para utkarsha sahishnata nahi hai. So you can't tolerate somebody being prominent, but you don't take responsibility. Because खुद तो करेंगे नहीं, पर दूसरों को ही मिलना चाहिए. I'm sure you all have examples for this. Para utkarsha sahishnata therefore is very important. So Srila Prabhupada, one devotee was complaining to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, this devotee is so bad. Prabhupada just, what did Prabhupada do? He just kept his eyes closed. Please tolerate him just like I'm tolerating you. So we are always thinking of how we have to tolerate others. So anyway, what are these four kinds of tolerance that we develop? First one, Viveka Sahishnata means what? So what are the others? Speech, mind, anger, vacha, manasa, krodha, tongue, eating, and genetics. Udaropas. This is Vega Sahishnata. What is the second? Dvanda Sahishnata means tolerance. It's not enough to know that we will tolerate this, we will develop this. Yeah, good. If you can not eat, it is good. Krishna doesn't say, Krishna says in the third chapter, Yukta Hara Viharasya. He says, be regulated in eating and sleeping. Did Krishna say don't eat? Krishna saying be regulated. Our problem is we are not regulated. We need to tolerate our irregular eating. We have to tolerate our cravings, we have to tolerate our fetish and our obsession. We don't eat to live. Many of us live to eat. That's the difference. बहुत अंतर है. You see animals, when they are sick, they don't eat. Cat, dog, we follow their body. When we are sick, sometimes we eat more. कल नहीं मिलेगा, feast है, चलो खा लो. खाने का तो खाना is a very very big topic. Separate पूरा presentation है psychology. How the craving for food is coming from the pain body. lot of pain in the body. अलग ही एक पूरा thesis है उसके ऊपर. When a person is sentenced to death, फांसी का सजा मिलता है criminal. What is the last thing they do with him? They feed him a big feast. Food is like a very big topic. So we are not saying don't eat, but if you can avoid, great. But we need to eat, but be regulated. Krishna is talking about not talking about controlling the tongue and eating, not eating the wrong kind of food at the wrong kind of time, not binge eating. That is clear. Huh? Okay? So now how to do this? How to first let Vega Sahishnutta. Now, how to control the urges, how to tolerate the urges that come in the body and the mind. So for that, one of the most important things is we should learn to preach to ourselves. We preach to the other world, like I'm giving a class to you. So I should give a class to myself. There should be some self-talk, self-preaching, either by writing or speaking. We need to basically access higher intelligence. And accessing our higher self, we need to preach to our lower nature. Don't do this. This is wrong. So that is very important. And one of the most powerful ways to develop Vega Sahishnutta is by reading Vaishnava bhajans, connecting to the great emotional mood and devotion of our great Vaishnava acharyas. And the ability to sharpen our intelligence and see that all the different urges and desires that come with the same thing only, actually, in different forms. It is same Maya wearing different masks. It is like, it is like somebody coming to tempt a person, and that person is coming in different clothes each time. So like that, all the desires that come, the same thing only. And the other Vegas, like anger, for example, the scriptures say anger, that urge can be overcome through practicing forgiveness. Greed, for example, Gita says one of the austerities of the mind is satisfaction. We have to perform the austerity of satisfaction that will help us overcome greed. So like this, we practice sadhana to overcome the Vegas, to overcome the Vegas, the urges. That is how we develop Vega Sahishnutta. And Dvandva Sahishnutta, the dualities of this world, like Srila Prabhupada writes in the Gita purport, a mother will cook in the kitchen even during the summer season, it's so hot. And during the winter, a saintly person will take bath in the river, although it's very cold. So that means we have to tolerate the dualities. Sometimes it is cold, sometimes it is hot. And this tolerant duality actually means what? It basically means whatever is happening, I continue to do my service or my devotional service. Tolerating means what? Is it saying, keep saying no, 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 no? Tolerating dualities means serving Krishna in all situations. If you are serving when you are sad, when you are happy, if you are serving when it is summer, when it is winter, if you are serving when there is tragedy, when there is comedy, when whatever is happening in your life, you are continuing to serve, that means you are tolerating, you are practicing the Dvandva Sahishnutta. That is the meaning of Dvandva Sahishnutta. And how do we develop that? By practicing duty. For being focused in Krishna consciousness in all situations, we have to inculcate the principle of duty, being dutiful. Because you will not always be inspired and motivated. Even if you are not motivated, sometimes we do the right thing because we have to internalize dutifulness. That is how we develop the ability to tolerate duality. And also understanding how whatever is happening in my life is because of karma. That knowledge also helps. I am suffering because of my own karma. So, and very, very important, if you want to develop tolerance of dualities in life, we need to start. See, you all want happiness, right? At the end of the day, you want to be happy. So start seeking happiness in spiritual activities. So see what happens then. Then you will not be tempted to seek happiness through happiness and distress of this world. Are you getting this? Like this world promises some pleasure. See, we think, okay, I will be happy if I get this pleasure. If I'll be miserable if I don't get this. If that is the definition of happiness, then this will always happen in the world because this Dvandva will always be there. That means we will always be miserable. But if I make my source of happiness as hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, if that becomes my source of happiness, then whatever is happening on the material front, I can still be happy. Are you getting this? This is very, very important. This is how we develop Dvanda Sahishnata. And the third is Paramata Sahishnata, or tolerating others' opinions. We have to remember how Krishna also hears others' opinions. In Dwarka, there is so many examples. Krishna hearing from Uddhava. There's one conversation where Krishna tells Uddhava, what to do? I'm confused. And Uddhava is explaining. Uddhava gets bewildered. He says, you are the Supreme Lord, you are asking my opinion. Huh? And Srila Prabhupada also, there are so many instances when devotees give him feedback. Like Prabhupada used to distribute back to Godhead in newspaper form. Somebody gave him a feedback that, what is this newspaper? Newspaper, people will think paper, they want to read new, they think it is old. You make it into a book form. That's how Prabhupada started writing books. Earlier it was like paper, newsletter types. That was a feedback, opinion, he accepted it. In fact, when Prabhupada started morning walk, the doctor told him that you are praying too much, you should do some walking. And the doctor was a little drunk also. So Prabhupada could have said, you nonsense, you are telling me, Gyan? No, he took his opinion seriously and he started morning walk. And Prabhupada said, I lived 10 years more because of my morning walk. There is one, I think I spoke last time, Srila Prabhupada in that Amsterdam temple opening. He was shouting at someone and one hippie told him, hey Swami, why are you shouting? Relax, chill, man. Chant Hare Krishna. So then Prabhupada, you are right. Prabhupada took his video back and started chanting. So, taking, see, basically this is humility. Paramata Sahishnata is, you can develop by cultivating humility. Humility means willingness to hear others. Generally in a conversation, when we're talking to someone, we want that person to stop so that I can immediately speak. We don't listen to the other person. That's why there are some senior leaders I see, like Vraja Bihari, Gaur Gopal, I see them. They are so senior, they have been here since like 30 years. Vraja Bihari was in 1988. Gaur Gopal was in 1996. But every day, whoever is giving Bhagavatam class, they hear. Attentively, live. Every day they hear. Radhesham Prabhu in Pune is the temple president. And he has preached to these young boys who are preaching, and they are preaching to young boys, and those boys have preached to some. And then this young boy joins the temple, he gives Bhagavatam class. Radhesham Prabhu sitting right in the front and hearing the Bhagavatam. So that is actually humility, no? That is Paramata Sahishnata. Abhi wo bachcha hai, wo kya bol raha hai aapko? But the point I'm saying is this is how we cultivate this tolerance. If you want to ask how, this is how. And the last is Para Utkarsha Sahishnata, which is tolerating others' success and progress. That we develop by learning to appreciate others. Especially, sometimes it's very easy to appreciate a person in his face. It is flattery. We want to be in a good book, so we say kind things. But Para Utkarsha Sahishnata we develop when we can appreciate that person behind his back. Like, for example, if I and Rajan Prabhu are sitting, we can appreciate, Manan. He's not around. That's how we develop Para Utkarsha Sahishnata. So appreciating someone, like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, when two brahmacharis would fight or have conflict, you would make both of them stand in front of each other and appreciate each other. So this is how we develop the tolerance. See, tolerance is inevitable. We have to learn to see, if we don't cultivate tolerance, then our problem, whatever we are in, situation, it can become 10 times worse. Isn't it? Like in India, sometimes a leech bite हुआ है आपको, तो तुरंत उसको निकालो तो क्या होता है? उसका fang is there in your skin and it pains more. But if you tolerate, allow the leech to come, take out its fang, and then you remove. So sometimes when you're in a provocative situations, we are generally immediately respond, we react, impulsive, and that creates a bigger problem than the original problem. We need to learn to tolerate. That's a very nice quote. I often quote this Stephen Covey's quote I read many years ago. Actually, from Viktor Frankl's quote. Stephen Covey borrowed it very beautifully. So it's a life-changing quote. We have to hear attentively. Between every stimulus, you know what is stimulus? Something that happens to you. Between every stimulus and our response to it, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom. In that freedom lies the secret of our happiness. I'll repeat. Between every stimulus and our response, there is a space. In that space, there is our freedom. In that freedom is the secret of our growth and happiness. So that means we need to learn to tolerate. That's why in the Bhagavatam, we have this beautiful example of Avanti Brahman who was going through so much suffering, and he says, Nayam jano ye sukadukka hetu na devatapma griha karma kala manaha param dukkam paramamananti samsara chakra parivartati. He says, my misery is not caused because of my, he says, Nayam, it's not because of the devatas, kala, karma. None of them are the cause of my suffering. Manaha param mamananti. My mind is the cause. So we have to tolerate our own inside world. And we have been brainwashed from childhood that any problem, solve it immediately. We have to solve problems, but our obsession to solve life's problems makes us underestimate the power of remaining calm during crisis. And there are so many problems in life you cannot solve. And if you are a control freak, always wanting to solve, then some of the most important problems in life, because you're trying to solve them instead of trying to tolerate them, you will create a bigger problem. So, and then the mind goes crazy, and the desires are so much in the heart. The Bhagavad Gita says the desires like lust, they burn. If you fulfill them, it may immediately calm. But then it's like putting petrol on fire. Immediately it appears the fire is extinguished, but then the fire burns. So we have to learn to tolerate. We have to first learn. There are some desires we have to learn to ignore. Some we have to learn to regulate some desires. Some desires we have to transform them from material to spiritual. So basically, we have to practice. Consciously, we have to learn to tolerate. And subtle tolerance, as you get older, it becomes more and more subtle. Like this famous pastime of Lala Babu in Vrindavan. He left everything, became a Babaji, he was doing bhakti, and his guru told him, okay, do Madhukari, beg. And he thought he became a big Babaji, but one day when he was begging, he had to go to the house, and he realized this is the house of his very big rival. When he was doing business, he had a very big competitor. And now he was, by the force of circumstances, he was in front of his house, he had to beg from him. Kaise karega abhi? But that was a very big challenge, and he passed that test. So tolerating that, it's not easy. So therefore, in our scriptures, tolerance is given a lot of importance. We have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who said, who taught 4 principles: humility through Sanatana Goswami, sense control through Ramananda Rai, simplicity through Damodar Pandit, and tolerance through Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. So if we read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat and Haridas Thakur's pastimes, then we will also develop the quality of tolerance. Like actually reading these pastimes, hearing the pastimes of Haridas Thakur, although you may already know the pastimes, but when we hear the same story again and again, somewhere within, because Mahaprabhu said he is an emblem of tolerance, we will develop the quality of tolerance.
How do you say that?
Third, matlab?
Humility.
Humility, Sanatana Goswami. Tolerance, Haridas Thakur. Sense control, Ramananda Rai. Simplicity, Damodar Pandit. He was very simple. He used to tell Mahaprabhu on the face. Anything was there, he used not keep in the heart. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would give a lot of time to a young boy affectionately. And then Damodar Pandit kept telling that boy, don't come and meet Mahaprabhu. But the boy would keep coming. One day he couldn't keep it to him. So he told Mahaprabhu, what is this? You're giving time to that young boy. His mother is a widow and she's a young lady and she's very beautiful. So if you're giving him time, people will think you're having some affair with her. He's telling Mahaprabhu directly like that. So he was very simple-hearted. He was the example of simplicity. Haridas Thakur tolerated so much of waiting in the 22 marketplaces and humiliation. So Krishna in the Bhagavatam, if you see, when he's glorifying the trees of Vrindavan, he's telling Balram, these trees, they are so tolerant. Krishna also, we may not be great devotees, famous devotees, big preachers, but our tolerance will attract Krishna's attention. So, and in simple terms, tolerance basically means the ability to accept reality for what it is. We lack the ability to accept the reality. Sometimes some things you just have to accept. That is actually tolerance. And the more we fight reality, the more frustrated we become. Now you may say, but Bhoji, सब कुछ tolerate करना है कहाँ सब कुछ कहाँ बोल रहे हो? We are saying you choose your battles wisely. Some things you have to tolerate, some things you have to change, right? And some things you have to leave the place. You can't tolerate, you can't change that situation. Also, then you leave the place. You change your situation. You understand? I'm not saying tolerate everything. Saying tolerate, choose your battles wisely. Learn what to tolerate, what to change, where to avoid the situation. Then you say, how to do that? For that, you need to know the purpose. Connect to your purpose. What is your purpose? When you know your purpose, if you have a vision, if you have a purpose, then you know what to tolerate, what to avoid, what to change. You getting? आपका पर्पस समझो ना क्या है ठीक है मेरे को प्रभु जी कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस में ना एडवांस करना ये दैट्स वेरी क्लियर आई वांट टू चैंट अटेंटिवली सो आई विल टॉलरेट नाउ आई विल नॉट फाइट विद दिस डिवोटी बिकॉज़ if I fight with them कल मेरा जप बिगड़ जाए so he is very clear so he will tolerate that see Srila Prabhupada tolerated these hippies who were fitting in his class they were drugged crazy people Prabhupada tolerated them. But when Mr. Nair was giving him trouble in Jew land, Srila Prabhupada fought against him and against his wife also. Because that land, he said, belongs to Vraja Bihari. So for Krishna, he fought. For personal, not getting respect, fame, all that, he tolerated. So you choose your battles. See what you want to tolerate, what you can't tolerate, what should be. That is your personal journey. The idea of tolerance basically simply means keep small things simple, small. जो छोटा छोटा चीज है उसको छोटा ही रखो बड़ा मत बनाओ टॉलरेट करो and we really don't know how things will pan out what will happen in life keep tolerating the small things and one day suddenly you will see wow this was amazing Krishna had this amazing plan वो दिन आएगा Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj gives this beautiful story of how when he was it's the story of one man who was shipwrecked and he landed up in a small island. Nobody came to save him and he was crying, wailing for help. Nobody turned up. Then he made peace with it. And he was living in the island all alone, the small island. And then he made a hut and he was managing to live. And one day, the hut caught fire. And that's when he freaked out. He lost it. He started saying, oh God, I tolerated so much suffering for so long. And now this one small hut I had, that also got fire. You are so unfair. And after some time, a boat came with people and told him they've come to rescue you. But how do you know I'm here? He said our ship was going and we saw fire. So we realized that there is some habitation here and we are wondering this the island is deserted. How can that somebody be there? Then we thought somebody is shipwrecked, somebody is here. So what we are going through, we have no idea what is that. So if you just tolerate, practice Aishnuta, Krishna will protect. That is the main theme of this. I remember one nice story Nitai Sevani Mataji said once. It really touched my heart. Because we are living in an institution and we are challenges. So I like this story because she's experienced. She's been a temple president in Vizag, Visakhapatnam. She had very nice story. When she was a young girl, she had just got married. Her husband took her to Mayapur and they were going to Navadvip. So he said, okay, we can do some shopping. We can buy saris in Navadvip. Bengali sarees, cotton sarees, so you come. So then they're going first time, you have to go to that boat from Mayapur to Navadvip in that Hulur Ghat. So in that boat you see everybody comes. Cycle leke, bike leke, murgi leke, bakri leke, सब आ जाते हैं. So she saw that crowd, नहीं जाना है boat. He said, नहीं कुछ नहीं होगा. No, people are stinking and all that. She said, I don't want. He said, see, this is the only boat. There's no other boat going. So you come. What do? You just stay in that one small corner you manage to get it. But you be here in this corner game क्या उधर ये तुम्हारा corner है तुम इधर सुरक्षित हो You can't tell others they should not be stinking, they should not do this, they वो सब चलेगा. That you cannot stop. You make your space here. But then Mataji gave a beautiful realization. He said, देखो, we don't have a choice. हमको इस्कॉन का बोर्ड मिला है. अभी दूसरा बोर्ड में तो जा नहीं सकते. और कहाँ जाएंगे आप? अभी हमको बैक टू क्वार्टर जाना है तो ये बोट है. कृष्ण के पास जाने के लिए हमको ये बोट है. अभी ये बोट में somebody's armpits are stinking, somebody is doing this, somebody is shouting, कोई मुर्गी लेके, कोई बकरी लेके, you know, in that Bengal local trains also if you go, everybody is there, people selling rasgulla inside, people are doing what not. It's crazy, but you make your space and you make peace with it. So she said, तो ISKCON में सब कुछ है, variety. ISKCON board में सब आ गए. So you make your space, do your service, come for Mangalarati, do your seva, do attend Bhagavatam class, do your service to children. Whatever you are doing, just अपना एक बना के प्यार से सेवा करो. दूसरे क्या कर रहे हैं अभी क्या? So when she said that, it just मेरे heart को ऐसा touch किया. It kind of answered all the everyone's problems that we go through. So I think this is the essence of Saishnuta. Vega Saishnuta, Dvanda Saishnuta, Paramata Saishnuta, and Para Utkarsha Saishnuta. And this is what Srila Prabhupada is writing in this purport. Man, this sentence of Prabhupada is so beautiful. After saying the last two sentences, can you read this? We'll read the last two sentences of this purport loudly again. Okay, we'll read together. So her sufferings continued. This means that she was destined to suffer by providence, and this one has to tolerate without being disturbed. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. You tolerated me for 1 hour plus. Thank you.
Today's class actually is for everyone. Like those who are not present, for them also we need to share. It's
I spoke this for myself. And if you see, I'll tell you, I'm not to realize what I speak is from what I hear from Gaurang Prabhu, Radhesham Prabhu. I'm just telling you because if you are interested to really go deep in Krishna consciousness, you should hear these devotees classes. Gaurang Prabhu, Radhesham Prabhu, Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, Amog Leela Prabhu, Nitai Sevani Mataji, Amarendra Prabhu, Radha Govind Maharaj, Radhana Swami Maharaj and Prabhupada, and all other devotees. I just like to hear. So I hear these lectures and I repeat. And बीच में मेरा भी थोड़ा दो पैसे का realization बोल देता हूँ.
What you speak is practical, very practical in the sense that we can apply it.
Yeah, there are beautiful devotees in ISKCON and they are wonderful realizations. And we are so fortunate. We can just hear from them, learn, apply. And we all have it already, you know. And unfortunately, modern times, we are not trained. So we are trained to solve problems. But there are some things we just can't solve. I remember once saying, Radha Gopinath, Prabhuji, problem, solve me नहीं होता, solve me नहीं होता. And then he heard me and then said a beautiful statement. It has like, maybe he said it 15 years ago. I remember it, every student I remember it. What a statement. He said, Vraja Bihari, if some problem you are not able to solve repeatedly after trying, you are not able to solve a problem, then please remember that is not a problem to be solved. It is a reality to be accepted. Simple thing. I remember my father used to always tell me this. My father and my mother, you know, they had a very nice relationship, like say any Indian family, but they had their own, every house has this one. So I grew up my father as a young child. I used to see my father come home, and he was a very big officer. When he would come home, everybody would, all three of us brothers would scamper for safety. He was a man, very angry and very short-tempered. Would be scared of him. And my mother had a different personality. She was sanguine. She would not be able to keep things ordered and organized. My father would get irritated if things are not in place, and he would immediately snap at her. So, and my mother would quietly talk. So this is how life was. But when my father was 69, 70, he's now an old man, and my mom is 10 years younger, I would go home. And I was staying in the ashram. I would go home once in a year. And I would say something very interesting. My mother, as usual, because of her nature, like for example, a bucket of clothes. She's going to do something in the kitchen, so she bucket kitchen mein rakh degi udhar hi, and she'll not then take it out. So if 30 years ago, my father would have screamed at her. But then, when I was at home, I would see wow, my father quietly going to the kitchen, picking up that bucket and drying the clothes. I'm like, wow, he's not saying anything to my mother. And I stayed 3 days. I saw my father very peaceful, carrying my mother is doing other things. I said, Dad, you changed so much. So then he said, son, what you can't cure, you have to endure. All these instances, you know. So then I said, wow, that's wisdom. तो जवानी में हम लोग एक जोश रहता है, बाद में होश आता है. Thank you for patiently listening to my class. Hari Bol. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.